Hello guys, this is your friend and we are back with a new fanfic. Which is What If Naruto Build Harem with Pakura Kyuubi and May Part 1. And if you enjoy this fanfic then please press the like button and subscribe to my channel for more fanfic like this. And now let's start the fanfic. It was a seemingly regular night in Konohagakure, ninjas patrolling, people drinking in bars and people having fun. In the forest, a 6-year-old boy can be seen running from a crowd. In the crowd were shinobi and civilians alike. Goddammit, not again, thought our blonde protagonist as he ran from a crowd. Why can't you guys see that I'm not Kyuubi? Yelled Naruto as he panted slightly, in hopes to ease the crowd. Quiet. One shinobi spoke, gritting his teeth. Why can't you see all the people you've killed 6 years ago in that attack? Naruto may he a lot of things but stupid was not one of them. He wasn't an idiot, even a blind person can see it. People calling him a demon, the glares, the segregation, the time he spent reading the books he stole from the library on his idol Yondaime Hokage and all the other books. He simply put 2 and 2 together and got his answer. He had the Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi no Kitsune. He didn't know what this entailed or if he could even communicate with it. Why him though? Why would his idol seal the Kyuubi inside him? He must have had a reason. The Yondaime wasn't the kind of man that would ask another family to sacrifice their child. So he came to a conclusion that he was the Yondaime's child, that he sealed the Kyuubi inside his own child. Crazy, right? Of course it was a far-fetched theory and sounded a bit crazy, but it made sense if his logic didn't fail him. Jinchuriki are usually somewhat connected to big village figures, like the Yondaime Hokage for example. But there were still holes in his theory. Why didn't anyone see the Kyuubi coming? Everything he's seen makes it seem as if it was summoned or something. Surely Konoha nins and scouts would have seen the gigantic 9-tailed beast, whose roars can level mountains, and tails can cause tsunamis coming, so that begs the question, where did the Kyuubi come from? Was his mother attacked during childbirth? Did the Kyuubi get extracted from her during this? He learnt that there were past Kyuubi Jinchuriki, and from what he's read during childbirth female Jinchuriki's seals weaken, so he came to a conclusion. He mother was a Jinchuriki. He couldn't find any information on Kyuubi's Jinchuriki other than Mito Uzumaki, Hashirama Senju's wife. Anyways, all of this wouldn't matter if he's dead, so back to the problem at hand. He kept running until he reached the Hokage monument. Usually, this would be his safe haven. But right now it was all but that. He was cornered. Please just stop, I'm not the Kyuubi, pleaded Naruto. Stop. Stop. Did you stop? When the cries of our shinobi were heard all throughout the night as you rampaged through our village. The 4th sacrificed himself to end you, and you still have the audacity to appear before us and mock us as a child. No worries though. Tonight we end what Yondaime started. Finished the shinobi as he started going through hand signs and shot a fireball at him. Naruto tried to dodge it, but his body was too weak and tried. It hurt. Everything hurt. He felt his body heat up, agonizing heat. As he fell off the monument his mind started going blank. Is this it? Is this how I'm going to die? I never got to know my parents. I wish I tried out that new ramen flavor. I'm sorry Nei-chan, and old man Tuki. I guess this is it, were his last thoughts as the floor below got closer until eventually all I saw was white. The white started to recede and was replaced with a yellow hue. He found myself in a hallway with tubes running down to a door. Is this heaven? Are those the infamous heaven's gates? Thought the young boy as he walked towards the door. When he walked in he was met with a giant gate with a kanji for seal on it. He heard weeping. The sounds of a woman crying. Eerie, he thought as he neared the gate. As he neared he noticed the form of a red-haired female. She had crimson eyes and a burgundy kimono. 9 reddish-orange tails were spread throughout the floor. Wait, what? Tails? Anyways, in all she was beautiful, ever prettier than that one girl he saved with those weird purple eyes. Hi, are you the angel that's here to pick me up? I thought heaven would be more white, he said. Her eyes snapped open as tears ran down her face. Naruto, thank God you're alive, she choked out. Wait, what? Alive? What do you mean? I thought I died, he said. No silly, you're not dead. I brute forced my way through this seal and I used my chakra to try and heal you to try and save you. But if I'm not dead then where am I? Last I remember I was falling to my certain death. You're in your mindscape. Mindscape. What's a mindscape? Are you the Kyuubi no Kitsune? Yes, I am. So my theory is right. The Yondaime sealed the Kyuubi in me making me your Jinchuriki. Who would have thought that the almighty Kyuubi no Kitsune was a pretty woman, he mused at himself. She smiled. She'd been watching him all throughout the years, unable to contact him, so she knew he was smarter than any typical 6-year-old. Throughout the years she kept on trying to contact him but to no avail. After his incident, he went through enough mental distress causing her to finally break through the seal. So if you're Kyuubi, why are you not a big bad mean scary demon fox? He asked slightly confused. She giggled as she said, I'm not all that evil as people believe, and this is just my human form. You see technically not even a demon fox, I'm a giant concentrated being made of chakra, so I can change my body as I like. But when Tu-sama made us he gave us our form body I was given that of a fox, but we can change our forms to be that of a human if we wish. I prefer being in this form because in this situation it would have been easier to talk to you like this, plus I would be crammed in my fox form because as you can see your mindscape isn't necessarily what you would call the biggest. But if you want I can change into my fox form, she said. No you're perfectly fine like that, but if you really are the Kyuubi then can you possibly answer some questions I have? Yes, what is it? She already had a general idea of what he was going to ask. Was one of my parents your previous Jinchuriki? Yes, your mother, she was my second Jinchuriki right after Mito Uzumaki. Uzumaki. That's my surname. Another question, if you know who my mother is, do you know who my father was? He asked in a hopeful tone. Yes, your father is, as you theorized, Minato Namikaze, the Yondaime Hokage. He smiled. I was right, why did he seal you into me though? Did they love me? Yes, they were ecstatic when they found out they were going to be parents, they had everything planned out and your father was very protective of your mother, not wanting anything to happen to her and you, she said softly smiling a bit at the end. Now, Naruto was not one to cry but again he was a 6-year-old child. Sure he was smart, what people would consider a genius at his age, but he was a child nonetheless. He was an orphan, no parents, no friends, no family or close nor distant relatives, there wasn't a day that went by where people wouldn't glare at him or call him names or whisper about him. He was alone, for the most part. The only people he had to call family were Gigi and the Ichiraku family but to hear that his blood parents loved him proved to be too much and tears began to spill out of happiness. As he wiped his tears he said, if you say you're not evil then why did you attack Konoha? At this, she scowled as if she remembered an unpleasant memory. Everything was going well during your birth until he showed up. He. Who? Yeah. The masked man. Masked man. Yes. During the night of your birth a masked man attacked and extracted me out of your mother. After that he used those blasted eyes of the Uchiha and controlled me into attacking the village. Everything went blank after that, her face turned into a frown. After your father removed me from the masked man's control I was confused and didn't know what was going on, my mind wasn't in the right place, when I saw the sealing ritual on instinct I attacked you not wanting to he sealed again. Her voice slightly faltered and she took a deep breath. When I did your parents jumped in front of my attack to stop me, she paused and balled up her fists. I was the one who killed your parents, she finished as tears began to roll down. He looked at her, betrayal evident on his face, tears ran down his face, he was looking at his parents' killer. He closed his eyes, and took a deep breath. He was unable to finish. He wanted to hate her, he really did, but he just couldn't, this wasn't her fault. None of this was, he can't blame her, it would be hypocritical of him to fault her. Just like he doesn't want people to ostracize him for being Kyuubi's holder, he couldn't hate her for being controlled. It was all that Uchiha's fault, His life being miserable was all his fault. Kyuubi-chan ransacking Konoha was all his fault. His parents' death, his fault. He hesitated, but he then walked into the cage and hugged a crying Kyuubi. They both needed this. Naruto had never felt anyone's hug. It was comforting. He felt her hug back. He felt himself break down. It was too many emotions for him to handle. He didn't know how to respond to them. The fact that there was someone who would even replicate a hug, it made him feel warm inside. I wonder if this is how it feels to have people that care about you. None of this is your fault. It's all the masked man's fault, he said to her, breaking the silence. She looked at him with wide eyes. Then he smiled. Don't worry, Kyuubi-sama. I promise I'll find this masked man, and make him pay, not just for killing my parents, but for controlling you against your will. I promise. I'm sure you will, Naruto-kun, she replied, smiling. They separated and she started speaking. Now to my next point. You being my Jinchuriki gives your massive reserves, advanced healing, and what is not known to much is, I also have the ability to awaken the Rinne Sharingan, considering you are of the Uzumaki clan and a direct descendant to Tou-sama. Your father was a Namikaze who branched off from the Uchihas but were ostracized by them due to not being able to awaken the Sharingan and eventually went nearly extinct. Most didn't awaken their Sharingan, but you still have Uchiha blood in you, enough for me to work with. Even though it's a small portion of your blood, you still have part Uchiha, Senju, and Uzumaki blood in you. The Senju blood came from Hashirama Senju and Mito Uzumaki, who are your great-grandparents. You have blood from both of Tou-sama's children, making you eligible for the Rinne Sharingan. Wait, the Rakudo Sennin was your father. He remembers reading about him in a book. Yes, I was originally part of a mindless beast of destruction and chaos, the Kyuubi. But Tou-sama defeated it, then became its first Jinchuriki. Towards his death he knew the Kyuubi will eventually reform and rampage again, so he split it into 9-tailed beasts, in order to bring peace and keep a power balance. She finished. His eyes widened in realization. So essentially, while everyone saw you tailed beasts, as mindless demons of chaos, you're all in reality heroes in a sense. Without you guys, this world as we know it would not exist and the Kyuubi would run rampant. She smiled slightly at how smart this child was. It was shocking that a 6-year-old would be this smart and knowledgeable. Tou-sama, this is the boy. I'm sure this is the boy that will bring upon peace to this world. Yes, while I wouldn't call myself a hero, it's not too far off. Now about the Rinne Sharingan, tell me, Naruto-kun, what do you know of the Sharingan? From what I've read, the Sharingan is the powerful dojutsu Kekkei Genkei of the Uchiha clan. It can predict movement and copy techniques. Very well. Now what do you know of the Rinnegan? Not much is known of it other than the Rakudo Sennin was the original wielder, and it is said that it's the strongest out of the 3 dojutsu. Very good. Now the Rinne Sharingan is a combination of the two, with the added abilities of the Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan, which is the next stage of the Mangekyo Sharingan. The abilities of the Mangekyo are powerful, but it comes with a severe drawback. It slowly leads to loss of sight. This issue is solved with the Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan. It stops your blindness. The Mangekyo Sharingan's abilities consist of the Susanoo, Tsukuyomi, Amaterasu, Kamui, Kotoamatsukami, and Izanagi. With the Susanoo you can create a humanoid avatar that works as a shield and is made out of your chakra and fights for you on your command. With the Tsukuyomi you can cast a powerful genjutsu, said to be the strongest and can only be dispelled by the Rinnegan. With Amaterasu you can create the strongest flames that burn through everything as long as you can focus on your target. With Kamui you can travel to the Kamui pocket dimension, you can move objects in and out of it at will, and it's said to be superior to the Yondaime's Hiroshin since you don't need seals. Kotoamatsukami is a subtle but powerful genjutsu that allow you to modify and change people's memories and replace them with false ones. However, this ability can be used once every year, but as your eyes grow stronger you can shorten this to once a day or two. With Izanagi you can cast an illusion over reality, allowing you to decide what is and isn't while it's active, neglecting any injuries, even fatal ones, even after death. Although it has its limitations, it is mostly used as defense or avoiding lethal wounds. But I recommend not using the last one since it can cause tremendous strain to your eyes, leaving them unusable for a few days. The Rinne Sharingan also gives you the abilities of the Rinnegan. Information on the Rinnegan is scarce due to the rarity of users, but due to Tu-sama being the original wielder, I know of its abilities. The Rinnegan has the abilities of the Byakugan minus the 359-degree vision. It gives you the ability to use all 5 elements. You can see chakra and its flow. It can also see the tenketsu of the 8 gates. You can also create black receivers that can transmit chakra. Then there are the 6 paths. The Diva path can control gravity and either pull things towards you to push things from you. The Asura path allows you to mechanize your body. With the human path you can extract souls and read their memories. You can use certain Rinnegan summons with the animal path. These differ from regular summons. You can absorb chakra and pure chakra techniques through the Petra path, although you cannot absorb Senjutsu chakra. With the Nakara path you have access to the King of Hell. Then there is the outer path, which is you. The Rinnegan allows you to preside over life and death, granting you the ability to revive the dead, but beware, it costs a lot of chakra. You can summon the demonic statue of the outer path, which is the body of the kyuubi. I'm made of its chakra and the statue is the hollow husk of the kyuubi. Although I recommend not using this as it does not require chakra but your life force, usually it will kill you, but due to your Uzumaki lineage, it'll leave you in a terrible crippled state. There are certain abilities limited to the Rinne Sharingan, like Limbo. Limbo allows you to reside inside an invisible world that is usually impossible to detect. While in this world you can still make physical contact with the physical world, allowing you to harm your enemies. While in this world, you can make up to 4 clones that reside in the Limbo world, all of which have the same abilities as you, finished the redhead. Wow, that doesn't sound fair to the rest of the world. She chuckled a little bit at his response. Yeah, I know, it's a lot to take in, but don't worry Naruto-kun, I will train you how to use these abilities, said the red-haired beauty, reassuring him. Will you really? Will you teach me how to be strong? I hate being weak. Yes, don't worry, after I'm done with you there won't be a single soul who will beat you, she said smugly. Yada! He exclaimed and jumped in happiness. Thank you Kyuubi-sama, I promise I won't disappoint you. She slightly smiled, this child is destined to do great things. Please, none of that Kyuubi-sama stuff, call me by the name Tu-sama gave me, call me Kurumi, but it's time you should be waking up Naruto-kun. I'll be giving you tips on how to use your abilities while in your mindscape. Since you've already made initial contact with me, I'll be able to talk to you while you're not in your mindscape, so when you respond talk in your head, I'll be able to hear. Now wake up Naruto-kun, I sense people near you. Okay, I'll see you later Kurumi-chan. As Naruto's consciousness started returning to him and he regained my senses, he began to hear talking. Sounded like Old Man Hokage and 3 other voices, 2 male 1 female. No Danzo, I'm not letting the boy become one of your mindless puppets, said the only voice he recognized, which was the voice of the 3rd Hokage. Then what do you suggest we do with the boy Hiruzen, said the other male voice. When he becomes of age I will enroll him in the academy. Why will you let the demon brat join the academy? Don't tell me you really plan on letting the brat become a shinobi, said the female voice. Let me remind you Kaharu, he is not a demon, he simply holds the demon, replied Hiruzen. Naruto started shuffling. You're dismissed, he's waking up. When he heard footsteps, then the door opened then closed. He took this as a cue to start shuffling some more and his eyes fluttered open. Ow, even opening his eyes hurt. Gigi, is it true you're going to enroll me in the academy? Asked the blonde boy. Yes, once you reach age 10 I'll enroll you in the academy. I smiled slightly. I will be making my ascent to become a shinobi. Gigi, can I leave this place and have that new ramen flavor? The old man chuckled. Yes boy, but not right now, you need to rest. I estimate you'll be out in 2 months, but you should be able to eat in about a week. Time skipped to 8 days later. These past 8 days he's been spending his time in his mindscape. While his body rested, he changed the appearance of his mindscape to make it more hospitable for Kurumi-chan. It changed from a sewer to a plain with a few trees, here and there basically just looked like a regular outdoor plain. Although his injuries realistically it was supposed to take more than 2 months for his body to heal, but thanks to Kurumi-chan his body healed at a ridiculous pace. Third-degree burns, fractured ribs, and broken arm and leg are not injuries that healed in 8 days. The nurses and doctors were shocked to say the least, but it just added to their rage. The demon can regenerate at a rapid pace. He was free to go, so he headed to his apartment to let Kurumi-chan begin the process. After consulting Kurumi-chan with it and talking about it during these past 8 days, he decided against telling the Hokage about the whole kyuubi situation and the Rinne Sharingan he was going to get, not that he didn't trust him, but still. As he made his way to his apartment, a thought reached his mind. Hey, Kurumi-chan, is it going to hurt? Although he couldn't see it, he could have sworn she just smirked evilly. I hate to say it, Naru-kun, but yes, it will feel like your eyes are being stabbed. Repeating, after that it'll feel like someone casted an amaterasu on your eyes, but don't worry Naru-kun, the pain will only last for an hour. While your eyes may feel sore for a few days after the process is over, it'll definitely be worth it. The red-haired female said. Now he was nervous. That definitely did not sound pleasant, but he did have to agree with her. The benefits definitely outweighed the bad. He laid down on his mattress in his apartment and entered his mindscape. Inside was Kurumi-chan. Her appearance was same as before except for a necklace she wore with the kanji for seal. I would recommend creating a table so I can strap you in. I know this will be painful and I can't have you flailing around. It will mess up the process. I reluctantly created one and laid on it as she strapped me on. I closed my eyes and I felt her soft hands over my eyes. It was quite pleasant. I'm sorry Naru-kun. The pleasant feel of her hands was the last pleasant thing I felt before the pain took over. Time skipped to 2 weeks. She said it would feel like someone was stabbing my eyes repeatedly. PFTO, how he wish it felt like that. No, it was much worse. This made the pain he felt at the monument feel like a stroll through the park. But I digress. He now my the Rinne Sharingan, but Kurumi-chan recommended he rest his eyes for a week at least after the process was done, just to be on the safe side. That was 2 weeks ago, and now Kurumi-chan told him that it was safe to use his eyes now. She told him that before he jumps into the deep end he should start with the basics, and it would be better that he trains his body to handle the strain that using these eyes will give me. Most of it would be mental strain, yes, but still, working his body would definitely help. She started him with doing basic weights on each leg. After I was fit enough for jutsus, she taught him his first one, the Kage Bushin no Jutsu, Shadow Clone Jutsu. It was an A- rank technique that required a lot of chakra but was no problem for him since cause of his massive reserves. The trick to shadow clones is that the memories from the shadow clone return to the caster after dispelling. It proved great for training. She had him perform them while water walking. Of course, learning these techniques was a walk in the park with his Rinne Sharingan, but the difficult part proved to be doing these techniques while walking on water. But he eventually got it down quickly due to his Rinne Sharingan. She taught him the basic academy techniques. After I got them mastered, we started getting into elemental jutsus. She taught him one jutsu from each element. The first one she taught him was the Kaden Gokaku no Jutsu, fire style, fireball jutsu. The basic fireball technique of the Uchiha clan. The second was the Futon Daitapa, wind release. Great breakthrough AC rank technique that allows you to blow wind through your mouth. The third was the Raiden Jaibashi, lightning release, electromagnetic murder. It allows you to send a wave of electricity through your hands. The fourth was Doden Doryuheiki, earth release, mud wall, which allows you to create an earth wall when you slam your hands on the floor. The fifth technique was the Sweden no Jutsu, water release, water bullet jutsu. This jutsu allowed you to spit a steam of water out your mouth. You can also split it and shoot them like bullets. He did these until he was able to do them with 2 hand signs, except for wind and lightning. He showed complete and utter mastery over these 2 elements. He can do his lightning and wind jutsu without any hand seals, but he still liked using one hand seal. Kurumi told him that he would have to practice with the 3 other elements until managed to gain the same amount of control he has with his lightning and wind techniques. Once he's done that, then he would be able to dabble into sub-elements. It's a popular belief that sub-elements like Yoden, lava release, or Hyoten, ice release, for example, can only be used with a bloodline. However, this isn't true. You simply just have to have complete control over the 2 elements, or 3 if we're talking about Jinten, dust release, required to form it. For example, people from the Yuki clan usually had near-perfect control over water and wind, so making ice wasn't much of an issue to them, they just had to practice their balance. To make the sub-elements, you have to use combine and balance both elements. It sounds simple, but it really isn't. It usually takes a long time, but with shadow clones this time should shorten. His body can now handle taijutsu, so Kurumi had him work on his taijutsu. He learned a taijutsu style based on agility. You would outmove your opponent and land hits in pressure points, slowly crippling your enemy. He had to extensively study human anatomy in order to learn where the pressure points were to make this style work. He also had to be really fast in order for this technique to work. If he was going to be honest, it's based on the Hyuga's Juken. In a matter of fact, he can probably replicate their Juken because he can see the Tenketsu, but he didn't want to, maybe eventually, but not now. Going to the library was also much easier now. He didn't need to steal the books now. He would simply make clones and henge them and have them go to the library and read a book on every subject, ranging from history to books on chakra theory. He had them go to the restroom and dispel every 10 minutes so his brain won't overload with information. On a book on the Third Shinobi War is where he found out about Uzushiogakure. His curiosity toward Fuinjutsu bloomed. When Kurumi initially told him of the Uzumaki clan, he was fascinated. They were known for their longevity and their seal masters. He was shocked at how badass his clan was. He decided to try and become a seal master, to continue the Uzumaki legacy and not let his ancestors down. He made a mental note to visit the ruins at one point. Because there was bound to be some scrolls or something, Iwa and Kumo must have searched through the ruins for stuff, but the Uzumaki were known for their seals. He's sure that there was some secret vault with really badass jutsu or seal locked behind really complex seals that only allowed someone with Uzumaki blood or something to open it. Well, at least he hoped there was. But damn, his clan must have been such badasses. He really wanted to bring his clan back to its former glory. That's a goal he'll work towards. It all sounded great and all, however, there is one problem. Konoha. He doubts the Konoha council allow him to simply waltz out of the village and start a new one, and if he did, then he's sure they will try and control him and the village. He came to the conclusion that he would eventually need to leave the village in order to fulfill his ambitions. However, he will need his inheritance from his father. He already got his mother's, but he can't get his father's until he made Chunin or was 18, so he would have to stay until then. He thought back to the conversation. Flashback. 12-year-old Naruto was making his way to talk to the Hokage about his parents to see if he had any inheritance. He decided to say he read about the Uzumaki in a book cause he wasn't entire sure if he should tell him about Kurumi-chan. I opened the door to see him cursing paperwork. Then looked up and noticed me. Hello Naruto, my boy, what can I do for you? Hey Gigi, I have a question. What is it? Asked the elderly man. Hey Gigi, can you tell the shadows in the room to leave? I'd prefer it if this conversation was kept just between us. His eyes widened in shock but soon receded and lifted his hand to signal his Anbu they could leave. How did you know they were here? I could sense their chakra. His eyes widened once again. A sensor. Those are rare. My Minato, Kushina, your son is definitely something, he mused. Anyways, what was your question? Okay, so I read a book from the library about the Uzumaki clan. Was I from a clan? The elderly man's eyes hardened, then sighed. I guess there's no way of hiding it now then. Yes, you are the last of the Uzumaki clan. They, along with Uzushiogakure, which is where the majority of them lived, fell in a joint invasion by Kumo and Iwa, due to fear of the Uzumaki growing stronger. When Konoha arrived to support, it was too late. However, your mother was in Konoha time and was safe, but I'm sure there are Uzumakis scattered around the elemental nations. Gigi. Who was my mother? Sorry Naruto, I'm not sure it's the right time to tell you. Come on Gigi, I'm 12, I'm not some idiot kid, I'm sure I can handle it, I said with enthusiasm. The older man could only chuckle. Alright if you say so, your mother was none other than Kushina Uzumaki, she was a phenomenal kunoichi, she was also known as Konoha's Red Death. I faked a shocked face since I already knew who she was. Did she love me? Asked the blonde boy. Yes my boy, she loved you more than anything else, you should have seen her reaction when she found out she was pregnant with you. He already heard this from Kurumi, but nonetheless, it made him happy and brought a smile to his face to hear it again. Did she leave me anything? I wasn't going to give you her inheritance until you made Chunin, but seeing as you are mature to handle it, I'll give it to you, said the older man as he pulled out a scroll and said. It will open with your blood, open it when you get home. Okay thanks Gigi, but what about my father? Asked the blonde boy. I'm sorry Naruto, that information I cannot disclose, you have to make Chunin or be 18 inches. I decided not to push it, I already got my mother's inheritance, so this trip was already a success. Okay thanks Gigi, Yane. I'm now on the last day of the academy, so it's been 8 years since I've started my training with Kurumi-chan, and I must say, I'm quite proud of my progress. I'm not one to toot my horn, but I would definitely stomp on all my academy classmates combined. I've mastered all 5 of the elements to the point where I no longer need hand seals and can call out my techniques in my mind without having to say them out loud. I've also managed to pick up some kenjutsu because there is nothing better than a well-rounded shinobi. Of course, I was still pretty sloppy and didn't know any stances. I was hoping to find someone that will maybe train me. I'll have to ask Hokage Gigi if he knows anyone. I've learned how to use the Petra path, Diva path, human path and animal path and human path. I had to practice on animals for the human path, but I didn't just want to needlessly kill animals, so I used this as an opportunity to practice the outer path. I just can't get myself to use the Asura path, it's way too creepy. With my Sharingan abilities I can use the Kamui, Tsukuyomi, Amaterasu with ease and no strain. The Kamui ability is quite neat, I find myself using it a lot. I haven't found a use for Koto Amatsukami and Izanagi yet. With my Susanoo I'm only up to the skin, I already have the ribcage and skin but no armor, so it still needs work. With the scrolls Ka-san left I've gotten a better hang with seals, I can now make gravity seals which help a great deal with my physical training. I've also learned how to make chakra blocking seals and chakra disrupting seals. The chakra blocking seals seal off your chakra and the chakra disrupting seal messed with your chakra flow, making it harder to perform techniques. I'm working towards not needing paper to use them. I've also created a seal that stores my chakra, so if at some point I run out of chakra I have a little boost and a backup. I've also learned how to make sealing tattoos that I put on my arm. I would just pump chakra and think of the item I wanted and it will pop it out as long as it's in the scroll. Funny enough, a big part of seals is not just making seals, but understand them. It's kind of hard to explain it, but a big part of it is understanding the seals and identifying what seal it is and trying to figure out how to do and undo it. It's quite fascinating. My current Fuinjutsu project I'm working on is a seal that allows me to seal any chakra-based jutsu fired at me and shoot them back out. Like say for example I face another Mangekyou Sharingan user and they fire an Amaterasu at me, I could seal it and shoot it back out at them. This would be useful if I'm trying to conserve chakra. However, I was currently stuck. I was able to suck it in the shoot it out, but instead of having it burst out and shoot towards them it would simply just plop down. Then I remembered back to when I received my mom's inheritance and scrolls, then a smile crept to my face. Flashback. As soon as I left Hokage Gigi's office I dashed home as fast as possible. When I arrived I opened the scroll and used a kunai to prick my finger and wiped my finger in the scroll. Soon a few items popped out. The first one I picked up was a scroll. From Kushina Uzumaki, your Ka-san. Hello Sochi, if you're reading this then it means that I'm not around to be with you. I just hope that you're not mad at me nor you too San, and if you are that you'll one day come to forgive us. We really wish we were around to see you grow up but right now is not the time for such negative thoughts. I left you some scrolls for some Uzumaki sealing techniques if you ever one day hope to pick up Fuinjutsu. I also left you a special key that will lead you to a vault where my family's treasures are hidden. Make the Uzumaki proud. Inside there is also a scroll for the famed Uzumaki chakra chains which are capable of restraining a buji. They can also be used. Key will need your blood for it actually work and once it starts glowing pump chakra into it. I love you Sochi. Again I'm sorry I wasn't there during your childhood. I hope you turned out good. P.S. I hope you're on good terms with Kurumi. I trust her to train you as she did with me. Yane teardrop mark. You taught Ka-san. Yes, I remember when she was a little kid, she was smart but hot-headed at times. Your father was the only one that could calm her down, most of the time, said the vixen as she gave a nostalgic chuckle. I looked at the other items and noticed the key she mentioned. It was pretty big, almost as big as half of my forearm, but it was surprisingly not heavy. So I hid it in a sealing scroll for when I visit the Uzushio ruins. Next were a couple of scrolls one assumed were the sealing techniques she was talking about and some jutsu. Flashback end. Since I've mastered all of the 5 elements I started experimenting with sub-elements. The easiest was definitely Hyoten, ice release, and Shoten, crystal release, the rest were quite difficult. Although Mokuten, wood release, is a special case, that one I could currently not do since it not only requires earth and water but you have to be a sage since you have to be one with nature. He would need someone who is familiar with the sub-elements to help me out, something he will definitely be looking out for when I leave. I've heard there was a woman who can use both Yoden, lava release, and Futen, boil release, fighting in the civil war in Kiri. I've also mastered the chakra chains that Ka-san mentioned in the letter. He can create a barrier and can freely control how much chains can come out and control them at will as if it was another limb. They prove to be useful for many other things outside the battlefield. Like multitasking while making ramen. Now that's enough boasting about my abilities. I don't want to get an inflated ego like a certain Uchiha. I finished getting dressed and ate a quick bowl of ramen. I grabbed my stuff and was about to leave via Kamui, but anyone saw that it would be a pain to explain it to anyone if anyone saw it, so I made a one-handed ram sign and left in a blur via Shunshin, body flicker jutsu, and arrived in front of the academy. I've made a lot of great friends through these 4 years that I've been in the academy. It truly saddens me that I'll have to leave, but it must be done. Talking about relationships, Kurumi and I tied the knot. I spent a lot of time with her. I started feeling funny as I spent time with her. I had an idea as to what it was that I was feeling, but I couldn't tell her until I was certain. Until I was sure I fell in love with her. When she told me she loved me too, it was truly one of the best moments of my life. Anyways, when I entered the academy, all my friend whom I've just mentioned were there. Firstly, there was Kiba Inuzuka, heir to the Inuzuka clan. He was a bit brash and loud, always yelling stuff about being an alpha male, and whatnot. Can't really understand that, must be an Inuzuka thing. Secondly, there was Shikamaru Nara, heir to the Nara. He's lazy and says, troublesome, but don't let that deceive you. He may not be much but he's a genius. Whenever I play shogi with him I always lose. We've been friends since before the academy, since he's never been mean to me like all the other kids when they used to play in the park. Thirdly, there is Choji Akamichi, heir to the Akamichi clan. He's big-boned. His clan jutsu use his calories and turns it into strength. He's a great guy with a big heart. There isn't a moment where you don't see him with chips. Fourth, there is Shino Abarame, heir to the Abarame clan. He isn't talkative but he's still nice to him, thus a friend to him. Fifth, there is Ino Yamanaka, heiress to the Yamanaka clan. She isn't as bad as it seems. At first look she seemed bitchy, but she's nice to me and that's enough in my book. Now only if she could get over her fangirl attitude and focus on training more, then that'll be more points in his book. Then there is Hinata Hyuga, former heiress to the Hyuga clan. She's shy and soft-spoken and stutters a lot, especially when she's around me. If I'm going to be honest, it gets annoying after a while. She's a great friend though, she's always supportive of me. We've been friends for a long time since I've saved her from a group of bullies a while back. I mean, what isn't there to like? She's nice, supportive and pretty. Now if we could get rid of that stuttering issue, that'll be a major win. It's not as bad as when they first started hanging out, but still. Her stalking habits and never leaving blush around me can get a bit creepy at times. Also, I could swear I've seen her give me lust-filled gazes at times. But hey, who am I to stop her? Then there is Tem and Banshee. Tem isn't all that bad, he's just arrogant and emo and lets his emotions get the better of him. I can understand why. Having your entire clan and family killed by your older brother who you cared for and looked up to tends to do things to people. He can probably be fixed. His skill is pretty high for an academy student compared to everyone else, so I can respect that, but still it's nothing to call yourself an elite for. Although he would sometimes catch Sasuke looking at him, a bit weird, but whatever. Then there is the Banshee. She's beyond salvation. I tried to befriend her and she thought I was hitting on her. I honestly feel bad for Sasuke. Let me show you in a flashback. Flashback. It was the first day in the academy. I was excited because I could finally start my journey as a shinobi. Everything was going fine. I befriended a few clan heirs and even a civilian girl named Amy. I was going to befriend another civilian girl named Sakura Haruno. I recognized that last name from the civilian council. Maybe if I got to befriend her, her mother won't be a total, for a lack of better word, bitch to me. However, that was a mistake that made my ears suffer. Hi, my name is Naruto Uzumaki. Nice to meet you, I said with my hand out, hoping to make another friend. Shut up, Naruto Baka, stop trying to flirt with me. My heart is only for Sasuke-kun, yelled a certain pink-haired Banshee. I winced at her tone. What the is wrong with her? I decided to not push it anymore and just walked away in hopes of never experiencing that again. Flashback end. I slightly winced at the memory as I made my way up towards a seat next to a certain lavender-eyed girl while greeting my friends. Hey Hina-chan, are you ready? I asked as I sat down next to her, but chuckled a bit at her full-blown blush at her nickname. I hope I am N. Naruto-kun, she said, saying his name barely over a whisper as her blush darkened. What was that, Hina-chan? I didn't quite catch that last part, I said teasingly. She may be my friend, but you can't resist not teasing her. Her blush was now a full-face blush. Stop teasing me, Naruto-kun, I'm just not used to this yet, she said, looking down slightly. I smiled. It's okay, Hina-chan, I didn't mean to tease you. We can stop with the nicknames if it makes you uncomfortable. No, don't, she said a little bit louder than she expected as her face started steaming in embarrassment as everyone turned at her to see what all the fuss was about, so she crossed her arms on the table and hid in them to hide her embarrassment. So of course, I took this as an opportunity to tease her some more. I'm starting to wonder if I'm a sadist. I brought my mouth near her ear and whispered suggestively. Hina, I never knew you felt so strongly about that. I could have sworn that when she shuddered she moaned a bit, but Iruka came to her rescue. All right, brats, quiet down, yelled a certain scarred Chunin before continuing. Today we will see if these 4 years did anything towards your goal to become shinobi or kunoichi, or if you just wasted your time. We're starting off with a written exam, he finished as everyone except a certain blonde groaned. As they passed out tests, I noticed one had a genjutsu over it. He knew it must have come from the Chunin named Mitsuki. His negative emotions sensor always went off when he was around him. He must be one of those fools who see him as the kyuubi. So I simply make a discreet hand sign and dispelled it. Hey Kuru-chan, get a load of this, I said in my mind. A little while after I made contact with her, she requested to share my senses. She'll see what I see, hear what I hear, taste what I taste, and feel what I feel. I of course allowed that, since what did I have to lose? It probably gets boring in here. Are those really the questions that you need to become a shinobi? That's kind of depressing. Yeah, I don't see how anyone could possibly fail this, the blonde mused. So are you going to go through with your plan? Yeah, I'll just have to get a passing grade. I read somewhere that every year there is a squad that has the Rookie of the Year and Dead Last of the Year with the best and most promising Kunoichi of the Year in the same squad in hopes that the two top rookies will be a motivational factor for them to improve. So he decided to use this as an advantage to get the best squad for a better chance at passing the Chunin exams. If he is correct, then Hinata will probably get the Kunoichi of the Year and Sasuke will get Rookie of the Year. So he has to become the dead last of the year. So he decided to get the bare minimum to pass in hopes of becoming the dead last. Era Naru-kun. Who would have thought about that? Such a genius. I may have to reward you if this works, she said suggestively with a giggle. I smiled. A blush crept on my face. Oh really, Ku-chan? What did you have in mind? I certainly have many things that I could reward you with, I said suggestively. Then I sensed her blushing. HMPH, you may have won this round but certainly not the war, she said before ending the link. He seriously shouldn't have told the clones to read every book in the library. As for why there are so many books on seduction in the library is beyond him. He finished the test in time for Aruka to call the end of the test. And they began walking to a room with targets. Next is Shuriken Jutsu. Each person gets 20 kunai. If you hit the target it's worth 10 points. However, after you've used up 10 the target starts to move and if you hit it you get 20 points, making it a total of 300 points. You have to hit the target at least 10 times to pass. I'm just going to do the points for the characters that actually matter. Choji, 180 points. Shino, 200 points. Shikamaru, 150 points. Hinata, 220 points. Sakura, 180 points. Sasuke, 240 points. Naruto, 150 points. Ino, 160 points. When everyone finished, the scores were shown. Sasuke smiled arrogantly as a certain banshee was screeching about not getting the best score and her precious Sasuke-kun being the best. I just rolled my eyes. After all of that we made our way to a ring. Next is taijutsu. Winner gets announced when they either get thrown out the ring or your opponent forfeits. No jutsu is allowed. When I call your names, come to the ring. Match 1. Choji Akamaiki vs Shino Abarame. Both contestants made their way to the middle of the ring. Hajime. Both shifted into their taijutsu stances as Choji ran rather foolishly towards the bug boy. They began to exchange hits but Shino was obviously getting overpowered. Choji threw a punch but dodged it but didn't see the other fist coming his way before it made contact with his face, sending him back slightly before getting kicked off the ring. Winner. Choji, said Aruka before continuing. Match 2. Shikamaru Nara vs Random Civilian. A certain Nara whispered, troublesome, before lazily walking towards the ring. Hajime. They both got into the academy taijutsu style. The civilian's stance was rather sloppy, then rushed the Nara before stumbling at the foot Shikamaru put out before pushing him off the ring. Winner. Shikamaru. Match 3. Hinata Hyuga vs Sakura Haruno. Both made their way, so Naruto decided to encourage his good friend. Good luck Hina-chan, said the blonde. Thank you Naruto-kun. I have to win this for Naruto-kun, and because the banshee keeps insulting my Naru-kun. She blushed at the concept of Naruto being hers but shook it off. Both girls made their way to the ring. I have to win this to prove to Sasuke-kun I'm strong and then he'll date me, screeched Sakura while Hinata just stayed quiet and get into her clan's taijutsu stance. Then Sakura got into her sloppy academy stance. Hajime. Sakura immediately rushed before getting tripped and tumbled to the floor. Naruto couldn't help but snort, which didn't go unnoticed by a pink-haired banshee. Sakura was fuming. The blonde idiot laughed at her. And this bitch. This weird-eyed bitch is embarrassing her in front of her Sasuke-kun. She tried standing up, rage evident in her face, but as she finally stood up, Hinata rushed at impressive genin speeds and hit 2 pressure points on each leg, making her unable to move. Aruka, this match ended. She'll be unable to move her legs for the next 2 minutes, so it's useless continuing. said the Hyuga, shocking everyone due to the fact that she didn't stutter. Iruka just nodded. Winner Hinata Hyuga. Naruto just smiled. Was she finally getting over her stutter? Good job Hina-chan, I'm proud of you, said Naruto. Hinata just turned red before replying. Thank y. Unaru. Ku. Kun. Yeah, never mind, the stutter is still there. Era Naru-kun, you're going to make me jealous with all that flirting, said Kurumi in a mock-hurt voice. Oh really Kuru-chan, I thought you were okay with having concubines. After all, you were the one that recommended I take multiple wives to restart the Uzumaki, said Naruto. Geez I know Naru-kun, but wow, that fight was really pathetic, commented Kurumi. Yeah, my match is next match against the Tem, I'm going to show off a bit, said Naruto slightly smirking. Yeah whatever, don't let this victory get to your head, and don't show off too much, we still have to keep trump cards, okay? Yeah, I know, it's not like I'm going to use my Susanoo on him or anything, said Naruto. Sakura was about to get taken off to the nurse's office before she heard Sasuke's match was next, so she demanded to stay or else she was going to scream. So the medics obliged, not wanting to hear the infamous Haruno screech. Match 4. Naruto Uzumaki vs Sasuke Uchiha. Woo, Sasuke-kun, wipe the floor with him. Shut up forehead and sit down so they can start their match, said a certain platinum blonde. It's Naruto-kun's match, thought Hinata. Gee. Good luck Naruto-kun, Hinata said rather quietly since her voice was being muffled out by fangirl screeching. Her lips formed a frown since Naruto probably didn't hear her. Sasuke walked towards the ring rather smugly while his eyes didn't leave Naruto while he made his way. Meanwhile, all his fangirls yelling that their precious Sasuke-kun is going to fight. Naruto just walked in with an impassive face before turning to Hinata with a smile. Thank you Hina-chan, I replied. Her frown quickly turned into a smile as a blush crept onto her face. He heard me, thought Hinata happily. Hajime. Both stood still for a few seconds analyzing each other for a while before Sasuke rushed Naruto at high genin speeds before throwing a fist at the blonde who simply just stood still and blocked him fist with his right arm. As soon as he stopped it, Sasuke sent a kick, but Naruto stopped it with his other hand before Sasuke jumped back. Damn, why did this idiot stop my attacks? It felt as if I was kicking a rock. He didn't budge at all, thought the raven-haired Uchiha angrily. Sasuke let emotions take control of him and angrily rushed Naruto with his first back. Naruto simply shook his head before grabbing his fist and flipping him around before striking him on the chest, pushing him out the ring in one swift motion. Everyone including Iruka simply looked at the blonde with eyes as wide as saucers. While Naruto just looked at them before hiving a foxy smile. Maybe I overdid it, Naruto thought. Iruka left his shocked state and announced the winner. Winner Naruto Uzumaki. Sasuke was fuming. How did this clanless loser beat him? An elite. The Uchiha are the best of the best, so how did he let this doby beat him, he thought angrily. He turned to look at the blonde that had his back faced towards him. Why is it always him? What's so special about him? He ran through hand signs and called out his clan's signature jutsu. Kaden. Gokaku no Jutsu, Fire Style, Fireball Jutsu, yelled out Sasuke. As if it was in slow motion, everyone could see the fireball make its way towards the blonde. Hinata's heart dropped as she was about to yell out something. At the same time, Iruka was about to stop it before the blonde did something Iruka thought he would never see. Naruto didn't even look back when he put up the single ram hand sign, and from out of thin air a water dragon formed and crashed into Sasuke's technique, creating a smokescreen. When the smoke cleared out, they noticed Naruto was no longer where he was standing but behind the Sasuke. My Sasuke-chan. I never thought you'll be the type to have his emotions take control of you like that, said Naruto in an amused tone. Sasuke's eyes widened at the honorific as he turned around expecting to be face to face with the blonde, only for him to be gone. He looked around before noticing he was beside Hinata smirking at him. How did he get there that fast? How did he do that? I let my emotions take control of me. Itachi never let his emotions take control of him. How can I even think about defeating Itachi if I can't even control my emotions, thought Sasuke grimly. It was dead silent. You could even hear crickets in the background. Everyone had a single thought on their mind. What the just happened? Everyone eventually left their shocked state. Naruto, where did you learn that? Asked Iruka. A magician never reveals their secrets, said the blonde cryptically while everyone just sweat dropped at his answer. That was amazing, Naruto-kun, finally spoke up Hinata. Thank you, Hina-chan, I appreciate it, replied Naruto. PFFTTT, their reactions were priceless. Nay, Naru-kun, did I ever mention that you're my favorite container, said Kurumi. I'm pretty sure you've mentioned it at some point, I replied in amused tone. It took everything I had to not burst out laughing at their reactions. Iruka-sensei, Naruto Baka cheated, there is no way he would beat Sasuke-kun, he should be disqualified, screeched Sakura. Everyone facepalmed. Actually, Sakura, if anyone is going to get disqualified, it would be Sasuke for attempting to use a possibly fatal jutsu towards a classmate, said Iruka. But I can't disqualify him though because the council would kill me, thought Iruka. Anyways, Sasuke, don't let this happen again or you're not graduating. Now let's all head to the room and wait for the ninjutsu test. The way there still couldn't believe what happened and everyone looked at Naruto at awe. Until Ino was the first one to speak up. Naruto, where did you learn to do all that? It was kind of cool. Yeah, you definitely put the Tem in his place, said Kiba enthusiastically. Troublesome, mumbled a certain Nara. While Sasuke was in the back brooding but saw the blonde in a new light. I need to get him to teach me how to do that and how he's so fast, thought the Uchiha. When they arrived to homeroom, Iruka started speaking. Next is the ninjutsu segment. You will have to do the 3 ninjutsu we taught you. If you fail to do any, you will fail. When I call you, you will go with me to room 101. Starting with, I just dozed off and entered my mindscape. Hey Kurumi-chan. Hi Naru-kun. I've been working on your seal and goddamn, my 2-san is a genius. It's okay Naru-kun, although I do wish I can be out of this seal so I can claim your lips. Maybe when I visit the Uzumaki ruins I can find something that would help me. However, the conversation was cut off. Naruto Uzumaki, said Iruka. I heard my name being called, so I walked to Iruka, then we made our way to the room. First is the Kimawari replacement jutsu, switch spots with that chair, he said pointing to a chair on the left. So I replaced spots with it. Very well. Next is the henge transformation jutsu, so I hang to look like Iruka. Lastly is the clone Bushin no jutsu, so I made a single-handed ram seal and made a shadow clone. Very well, you passed. Choose your Hi-8 band color. This is easily changeable though, said Iruka as he pulled out Hi-8s with different colored bands. So I chose a black-colored one. Thank you Iruka-sensei, I said as I tied to my forehead as I made my way out of the room. A while later Iruka came back after everyone was done. Congratulations to those of you who passed the test, today paves your journey as shinobi. Tomorrow you will come here to know who your genin squads will be and to meet your jonin senseis, he said as he left followed by everyone. Night time. I was currently finishing training when in the distance I noticed someone passing by. It was for a second but I managed to recognize who it was. It was my friend Amy. The last time I saw her I was comforting her because she was crying due to not passing the exam. But then I noticed a giant scroll on her back, so I decided to follow her. I arrived to the clearing she was at and she was looking at the scroll. I noticed it was the scroll of sealing. I decided to show up behind her without her noticing and ran my eyes through it, so copy the techniques. Thank God for the Sharingan's photographic memory. After I finished I decided to make my presence known. Hey Amy-chan, I hope you know stealing the scroll of sealing can put you into prison. She jumped up in shock. You scared me Naruto-kun. Guess what? I'm gonna pass, she said happily. Mizuki-sensei said that if I learn a jutsu from here I'll be able to pass. Mizuki-sensei. What does he? But my thoughts were cut off by the sound of air being cut. On instinct I grabbed Amy and the scroll jumped away. I turned to look at the spot where they came from and Mizuki was standing there. Ah, I see what's going on. Mizuki-sensei, I got the scroll, said Amy. Okay, good, now give it to me, said Mizuki. No, Amy, don't, I said as I put out my arm to stop her. Why, said Amy before being cut off by Mizuki. You, he said as he looked at me with venom laced in his voice before an evil smile crept onto his face. Say, Naruto, do you know who everyone hates you? Because you're the kyuubi, the demon who killed countless people. You are the demon, he said with a smirk. I could have sworn I heard Kurumi snort in my head. I just looked at Mizuki with an blank stare before I went into a mock thinking pose. A demon you say? That sounds pretty cool. I mean, kyuubi is the strongest of the tailed beasts, so it must mean I'm strong, right? I mused. Mizuki just looked at me with shocked eyes before they turned into angry hate-filled eyes. Yes, a demon, and I will be the one to kill the demon, he said before throwing a couple of shurikens, so I grabbed Amy and the scroll and took her to another secluded place. Stay here and take care of the scroll, he tricked you. I'll take care of him, I said seriously. When I saw her nod nervously, I left in a blur. When I arrived to where Mizuki was, I was met with Mizuki rushing me with his fist back. I sidestepped his fist and grabbed it and spun him and threw him to a tree. I then called out my technique. Bansho Tenon, Universal Pull. Mizuki found himself being pulled by Naruto by an unstoppable force before he was met with a punch to the face with a strength no genin should have. He flew to another tree and was knocked out cold. He heard Iruka coming, and when he arrived I told him what happened and where Amy was. We then tied up Mizuki and took him with us. We went to where Amy was and explained what happened. Iruka told me we would go to the Hokage to make sure Amy wouldn't be punished and explain the situation since I was the one with Amy. When I arrived at the Hokage Tower house via Shunshin, I walked in and kicked the door open to the shock of Amy and Iruka. Hello Gigi. So basically I was training in the forest when I saw Amy running with a giant scroll. I decided to follow her to see what happened, but when I arrived I noticed that it was the scroll of sealing. She then told me that Mizuki told her that if she got the scroll she'll be able to pass the academy test she failed. Mizuki then came and attacked us, proving that he tricked her, so I confronted him and stopped him. Then Iruka came. And now we're here. The Hokage was shocked that Naruto managed to take out a Chunin fresh out of the academy. Very well done, my boy, for doing such a great job. This will go on your record as a B ranked mission. You're free to go. I nodded and left via Shunshin. When I got home I laid down and entered my mindscape as my body rested. Tomorrow would be a new day. I'll meet my Jonin sensei and my Genin squad. Naruto awoke to the blazing sun in his face, screaming, "Wake up. So today you'll see if your plan worked," said Kurumi in his head. Yeah, if it doesn't, I just embarrassed myself these past 4 years getting the minimum passing score on my tests, replied Naruto. He left his bed and started changing into his new appearance. Since he was starting his shinobi career, he decided to change his appearance to be more fitting for a shinobi. He went with mostly dark colors since it's more fitting for a shinobi. He of course would have preferred to wear orange, but orange isn't very shinobi-like, and plus if he put too much orange Kurumi would probably kill him. He wore black Anbu pants with tape wrapped around his right thigh with standard black shinobi sandals. He had a custom-made dark gray shuriken and kunai holster. Inside has a seal for the pocket dimension where he has hundreds upon hundreds of kunai and shuriken. He wore a dark gray vest, think Kakashi's vest while he was Hokage, with the Uzumaki swirl on the back. He had medical tape wrapped around his neck. Underneath the vest was a standard long-sleeved black shirt and black fingerless gloves. He put on the mask he made using the creation of all things technique and utilizing the yin release to materialize it, and made it out of his chakra, think Menma's mask from Road to Ninya movie, except instead of red coloring it had orange coloring. Kurumi told him it's the same technique that was used to make the tailed beasts. Rakudo Sennin used the yin release to make their bodies and yang release to give them life. Man, if Rakudo Sennin used this technique to make the biju in his deathbed, he must have been terrifying. He finished up his daily ramen breakfast and activated the gravity seals he had on my legs at level 10, equivalent to 350 pounds on each leg. He left in a lightning shunshin and arrived to the academy doors. When he went inside, everyone looked at him strangely. He then realized he still had his mask on, so he took it off and put it in a seal on his arm. He just ignored the blushing faces and made his way to his seat next to Hinata. She turned to look at him with a lustful daze in her eyes. Must resist jumping and claiming him, thought Hinata. You look great, Naruto-kun, she said with a blush. Thank you, Hina-chan, Naruto replied with a smile. What's with the new look, Naruto? Said Kiba with a whistle as he started walking up to him. Yeah, you actually look really good, said Ino with a small blush. Well, I'm an official shinobi now, so I thought, might as well look like one, right? Naruto replied. Of course, Sakura had to come ruin the moment. Stop trying to look cool like Sasuke-kun, Naruto baka, yelled Sakura. Everyone just face-palmed. What did I ever do to her? He asked Kurumi. Maybe being annoying is just in her blood, replied Kurumi. Iruka entered the room and began to speak. Alright, everyone, quiet down and head to your seats. I'm about to announce your Genin squads and your Jonin sensei, said Iruka before being cut off by Kiba. Wait, Iruka sensei, where is Mizuki sensei? He said before a few people nodded in agreement. Iruka glanced over to Naruto before he began speaking. Well, he was sick and couldn't make it. Everyone just nodded before Iruka began to list off the teams. Going to skip teams 1 to 6. Team 7 is Naruto Uzumaki, Sasuke Uchiha, and Hinata Hyuga with their sensei Kakashi Hatake, said Iruka. Naruto just smirked as he thought, it worked. Hinata thought, I'm in a team with Naruto-kun, I couldn't have been more happier. At least he isn't with that bitch Sakura. She thought happily but with a venom-laced voice when she thought about Sakura. Hinata is strong and smart, so she won't hold me back. At least I hope she doesn't. And Naruto. Naruto isn't all that bad actually, but soon shook that thought off and he continued. From what I saw yesterday, he's strong. But he hides it. I must get him to teach me how to do what he did yesterday, thought the Uchiha. What? Why does Hinata get to be with Sasuke-kun? Not fair, I should be with him, yelled Sakura. Suddenly the room dropped several degrees and everyone started sweating as they looked at the source. It was Naruto glaring daggers at Sakura. If looks could kill, Sakura would have been dead 10 times over. What did you say about Hinata? I could tolerate insults towards me. But I will not tolerate when you insult one of my precious people. Understood, said Naruto with venom coated on every word he said. She just nodded nervously. Good. He finished before the temperature returned back to normal before everyone looked at him with the same thought on their mind. Well, that was scary. Iruka regained his composure before he began speaking. Well, to answer your question, the reason they're in a squad is because Sasuke got Rookie of the Year, Hinata got Kunoichi and Most Promising Student of the Year, while Naruto got Dead Last of the Year. This team was assigned because the 2 top students will push the Dead Last to do better. Wait, Iruka sensei, how did Naruto get Dead Last of the Year if he wiped the floor with Sasuke in the exam yesterday? Sasuke scowled and glared at him when he said that. Well, Naruto, on every test we've taken since the academy started, he's gotten just enough to pass. On the exams too, he just barely passed the written test and Shuriken Jutsu test, replied Iruka. Everyone looked at the blonde confused. They could have sworn Naruto was smarter than that. But Shikamaru narrowed his eyes at him. Bare minimum, he's always sleeping in class, and when he isn't, he's usually talking to Hinata and not paying attention. Did he do it on purpose? Troublesome blondes, he thought with a sigh. Alright, continuing with the teams. Team 8 is Kiba Inuzuka, Sakura Haruno, and Shino Abarame with your sensei Kurenai Yuhi. Team 9 is still in rotation from last year. Team 10 is Ino Yamanaka, Shikamaru Nara, and Choji Akamichi with your sensei Asuma Sarutobi. Now please wait here for your sensei and good luck, finished Iruka as he left. 3 hours later. Where the hell is our sensei? Sasuke said angrily. I'm not sure. Maybe he got lost on the road of life, replied Naruto before they heard the door open and in walked a guy with gray gravity-defying hair, a face mask covering half his face in standard Jonin attire. Hi, are you guys Team 7? When they nodded so he continued. Meet me on the room top, he said before vanishing in a poof of smoke. The squad just looked at each other and shrugged, then Naruto spoke up. Here guys, grab onto me, Naruto said as he put out his hand towards the two so they can grab it. Sasuke looked at him then looked away and said no before walked out. He just looked at Hinata and shrugged his shoulders and grabbed her hand then left to the rooftop via Shushin. When they arrived, Hinata began to feel dizzy and started stumbling. Don't worry Hina-chan, you'll eventually get used to that, said Naruto as he put my hand on her shoulder to support her. Kakashi, who was leaning on the rail reading a small orange book, noticed they arrived and looked at them and said, "That's not a jutsu most genin should know how to use." "Yeah, but I'm not like most genin," Naruto replied with a foxy grin. "Yeah, of course you're not. That's to be expected of Minato-sensei's kid," thought Kakashi. A few minutes passed and Sasuke arrived through the front door and saw Naruto and Hinata sitting on a step talking. "How are you guys already here?" asked Sasuke. "Well, I told you to hold on to me but you didn't want to, so I just left with Shunshin with Hina-chan," replied Naruto before Kakashi started talking. "Alright, since you're all here, why don't you tell me about yourself? Things like your name, your likes, dislikes, dreams and stuff like that. Bluey, you go first," said Kakashi as he pointed at Hinata. "My name is Hinata Hyuga. My likes are cinnamon rolls, my friends," she looked at Naruto and blushed before continuing, "and training my clan's taijutsu. My dislikes are people who insult my friends, perverts, and judgmental people. My dreams for the future are to become a kunoichi my family would be proud of and eventually start a family of my own," she finished while her blush got deeper and she glanced at Naruto. "Now you emo," said Kakashi while pointing at Sasuke, then he scowled. "My name is Sasuke Uchiha. My likes. I don't like anything. My dislikes. I dislike a lot of things. My dreams. I have one dream, and that is to kill my brother and avenge my clan." Everyone's sweat dropped. "That's to be expected," though Kakashi grimly. "Now you blondie. My name is Naruto Uzumaki. My likes. I like ramen. My dislikes. I don't like it when people insult my friends. Dreams. Well, I had a dream that I was eating a giant bowl of ramen last night," said Naruto. Then it was everyone else's turn to sweat drop. "Very well. Tomorrow meet me at training ground 7 at 7, so we can take the actual test." "Wait, what do you mean, Kakashi-sensei? I thought we already took the test," asked Hinata. "The academy test, yes, but not my test, ah. And I recommend not eating breakfast tomorrow. That is if you don't want to taste it 2 times, said Kakashi with an ice smile before leaving in a poof of smoke. "Well, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Take care, Hina," said Naruto. "Bye, Naruto-kun," said Hinata. Then Naruto disappeared in a blur. Next day at 7, Naruto woke up and saw the time. "Oh geez, it's time." Well, he seemed like a laid-back guy. The first, don't think he would mind if I was 15 or so minutes late. I thought as I started changing. When I finished my ramen I left via Shunshin. When I got there I saw Hinata leaning on a tree and Sasuke glaring at a grasshopper. "Hi Hina-chan." "Tem," said the blonde. "You're late, Dobi," said Sasuke when he looked up from the grasshopper. "I had to eat something. I wasn't about to come on an empty stomach," said Naruto. Kakashi-sensei said not to eat. "No," he said, "I recommend you don't eat. He never said it was an order, and if I do end up tasting it twice, then oh well," said Naruto as he sat next to Hinata before he continued speaking. "Talking about Kakashi-sensei, where is he?" "I don't know," he said before starting to brood. "Hi Naruto-kun, what do you think the test is about?" spoke up Hinata. "No idea, I'm as clueless as everyone here," replied Naruto. The two continued to speak while Sasuke glared at Hinata and Naruto at times. 3 hours later, Kakashi arrived in a poof of smoke and saw Hinata and Naruto asleep on the tree bark, and Sasuke was brooding. "You're late," said Sasuke while gritting his teeth in anger. Naruto started to wake up and Hinata followed. "I'm sorry, an old lady was crossing the street, so I helped her and escorted her home just to be sure," replied Kakashi with an eye smile. They sweat dropped at his response. "Anyways, Kakashi-sensei, what is this test about?" asked Naruto. "See these two bells?" he said while signaling to the part of his pants that had two bells attached to it. "You have to get them before the timer goes off. You have 2 hours, he said as he pulled out a timer seemingly out of thin air as he set it on a stump. "The test starts when I say go. Go." The three genin jumped away. Hinata followed Naruto and Sasuke jumped to another spot. "Hey Naruto-kun, what should we do?" "First let's look for Sasuke and regroup so we can come up with a plan," replied Naruto. "Okay." They both jumped away to look for Sasuke and eventually they found him. "Hey Sasuke, we need to come up with a plan," said Naruto appearing behind him. This surprised Sasuke and he put a very unmanly, "Eep." Naruto and Hinata had to hold back a snort. Sasuke looked at them red-faced, whether if from anger or embarrassment is unknown. "What do you want, Dobi?" he said, trying to but failing to hide his anger. "I know what you're thinking and it's a bad idea. He's a Jonin, he'll wipe the floor with you. I don't care if you think you're an elite. We have to work together and come up with a plan to get the bells." Sasuke looked a bit shocked since Naruto read him and his plan easily. "Alright Dobi, let's say your plan works and we get the bells. There's only 2 bells, one of us is going to fail," said Sasuke. Naruto had to resist the urge to facepalm. "Sasuke, tell me, when have you ever heard of a 2-man cell? This is designed to have us go against each other. This is a test of teamwork, but don't worry, if we get the bells I'll give them to you guys." Sasuke and Hinata nodded, trusting him since he had a point. "Okay, so here's the plan," began the blonde. "With Kakashi. What's taking them so long?" wondered Kakashi while reading his pervert book when he heard Shuriken coming towards him, so he instinctively jumped back. "You're going to have to do more than that if you plan to take these bells, Naruto," said Kakashi as Naruto jumped off the tree he was on. "I know, Kakashi. Iruka told me to not underestimate Naruto, that he's smarter than he lets on," he thought, thinking back to when teams were assigned. Flashback. Kakashi and all the Jonins were getting the information on his team when Iruka said something interesting. "Lord Hokage, I noticed something interesting when reviewing the tests throughout the academy and the final exam. He got the bare minimum passing score for the Shuriken Jutsu and written exam. But in the Taijutsu test he beat Sasuke Uchiha with ease. I believe Naruto is hiding his abilities. He made a water dragon out without any water source nearby when Sasuke launched a fireball at him. The only other person who's been able to do that is the Nadaime Hokage. Not only that, but he only used one seal to cast it." Everyone in the room looked shocked. "Alright, thanks for that information, Iruka. Kakashi, I want you to test the boy and see if what he said is correct." Hi. Flashback end. Naruto pulled out a kunai out of his pack, then put on his mask. "What's the mask for?" asked Kakashi. "Not really sure. Just for aesthetics, honesty, but I might add some seals," replied Naruto. Kakashi's eyes widened for a second. He knows Fuinjutsu. But his thoughts were cut off when Naruto rushed him at shocking speeds with a kunai in hand. This alerted Kakashi and he put away his book and pulled out his kunai to block it. When the kunais crashed, Kakashi was surprised at his strength. He jumped back and thought, "Iruka is right. I can't underestimate him. I was hoping I wouldn't have to use this." Kakashi pulled up his headband, revealing his Sharingan. Naruto smirked. "So you're finally getting serious, Sharingan no Kakashi." Meanwhile, Sasuke in a tree nearby saw this and nearly fall off. "What? How does he have clan's Kekkei Genkai?" thought angrily. Naruto made a single-handed ram sign. "Suiden. Suiryuden no Jutsu, water release. Water dragon jutsu," thought the blonde. A water dragon materialized out of thin air and hovered. Raiden. Jaibashi lightning release. Electromagnetic murder, thought Naruto as he sent a surge of lightning towards the water. The water started glowing blue and electricity was surging through the dragon. Kakashi's eyes widened at the combination. Holy crap, what the hell is that? I definitely can't get hit by that, he thought as the dragon shot at him quickly. Kakashi made a big jump back to avoid the small AoE damage it does. When he heard a volley of shuriken and kunai coming at him from 3 directions, forcing him to go the other way. A trap, damn it, he thought as he heard a voice as his eyes widened in realization. Gentle fist art. 8 trigrams 34 palms. Shit, I totally forgot about the other ones, he cursed in his mind, but it was too late. 2 palms. 4 palms. 8 palms. 16 palms. 32 palms. Kakashi fell down due to having his tenketsu closed off. Naruto jumped to where they were and took the bells. How did you do it? He said, still finding it quite hard to believe he got bested by genins. Naruto spoke it. It was a quite simple strategy if I'm going to be honest. Basically after we left we regrouped and planned a strategy to take you on, since it's unrealistic for a genin to take on a jonin one-on-one and get the bells, so I assumed we would have worked together. So the plan was that while you were busy with me, Sasuke set traps all throughout the area and we would push towards Hinata's direction until you were in her range so she can close off your tenketsu. And once she did that we'll take the bells. Kakashi, still being unable to cope with the fact that he lost, had a depressed aura around him, saying something about students being too smart for their own good before he regained his composure. Kind of. So what will you do now that you have the bells? Naruto just looked at the bells, then at his teammates, and gave one to Hinata and tossed the other to Sasuke. Kakashi looked at this scene with a smile. Very well. You all pass with flying colors, he said with an eye smile. Well, a pained half EY. It seems you understood the test. Yes, the goal of the test is to see if you wouldn't get over that fact that there are only 2 bells and work together to get them. Caring about only yourself in a mission can prove to be fatal. Those who break the rules are scum, but those who abandon their friends are worse than scum, said Kakashi before continuing. Naruto, I have a question. You showed tremendous skill, but you got dead last in the academy. Why were you hiding your skill? In response, Naruto just smirked before he began speaking. Well, a little birdie told me that there's a genin squad where there is the dead last, the most promising kunoichi and rookie of the year. So when I started the academy I decided to become the dead last to get a strong team. Kakashi looked at him in shock. Minato-sensei, your child really is something else, thought the Cyclops. Sasuke and Hinata looked at the blonde in a new light. So Naruto-kun is actually really smart, thought Hinata with a small proud smile. HMPH, so the Dobi fooled everyone including me, not that I'll ever admit it, thought Sasuke before another thought reached his head. Wait, Kakashi-sensei, how do you have the Sharingan if you're not an Uchiha? Asked Sasuke. It was a dying gift from a friend, he said with a hint of sadness in his voice. Nobody decided to continue the topic, so Hinata changed it. Kakashi-sensei, you should be able to stand up in about 2 hours. I tried to not hit you too hard, said Hinata. It's okay, Hinata. Alright, tomorrow we're meeting here at 9 to start missions, replied Kakashi. Everyone nodded and began to walk off before Naruto spoke up. So you guys wanna go get ramen? Sure, Naruto-kun, replied Hinata with a blush. Calm down, Hinata. It's not a date. Not yet, at least. The thought as her blush grew deeper, thinking about a date with Naruto. Sasuke just looked away. HMPH, I don't want to go, but I'll go, only because that plan wasn't all too shabby and we passed thanks to your plan. Naruto just chuckled. The trio walked off, failing to hear Kakashi asking for help. At Ichiraku Ramen. As they arrived to the booth, Naruto sat down. Hey Tsuki Gigi, 8 bowls of miso ramen. An elderly man came out alongside a girl with brown hair who didn't seem much older than them. What would you guys be having? He asked as he looked at his team. Same as Naruto-kun, but only 1 bowl, said Hinata. Ayame immediately got a wide grin and nudged Hinata and whispered. So Naruto-kun is it, she said as her smile got wider. I can't say it's a bad catch, especially with that new wardrobe change, she continued wiggling her eyebrows as Hinata got an atomic blush. Alright Yame-chan, stop teasing Hina-chan, you're gonna make her faint from embarrassment, said the blonde before continuing. What would you have, Sasuke? 2 miso ramen for me, he replied. Right on it, said the old man. Their food eventually came and they started eating and talking, and to the team's surprise Sasuke was also talking and not brooding the whole time. Where the hell is Kakashi? This meeting was supposed to start 30 minutes ago, said an impatient Hokage. It's Kakashi, what were you expecting? Said Asuma with a chuckle. A door flew open showing a battered, panting Kakashi. What happened with you? Asked Asuma. Kakashi just said one word that caused everyone's eyebrows to raise. Genin. Nobody was able to comment on it. Then Hiruzen started talking. Alright, now that you're all here, give me the results. Team 10 passed. The new generation Ino Shika Cho could use some work, especially Ino, she still has fangirl tendencies we need to work on, said Asuma. Team 8 passed. They mostly did well, but Sakura was the weak link. She didn't do anything to help, and the entire time she was complaining about not being in a squad with Sasuke. How did someone like her pass? She is a prime example of the reasons kunoichi are often looked down upon, Kurenai said with a frown. Team 7 passed IR, but was cut off. Well, that's a new one. Kakashi usually never passes a team. Yeah, I assume the Uchiha was the cause, although he doesn't seem like much, said Kurenai. Asuma just snorted in response. I'm pretty sure the Uchiha wasn't the cause. Anyways, Kakashi continue. I'm curious to see how Naruto-kun did. Everyone else raised an eyebrow but weren't able to comment on it because Kakashi started speaking. Well, it seems that Iruka was correct that Naruto is hiding his strength. Immediately when the test started, he gathered up the squad and figured out the point of the test. Naruto attacked me and made a water dragon out of thin air with a single seal like Iruka said he could, but the next part is the terrifying part, he added lightning to it, making it stronger. I of course had to dodge it, but he kept on attacking me, forcing me to move. I ran into some traps that forced me to move into a clearing where Hinata was waiting for me, ready to close off my tenketsu with her juken. It was all a plan formulated by Naruto. He would pressure me into moving in a specific direction, and to make sure I didn't stray away from the path he was making for me, he made Sasuke set up traps, and once they had me where they wanted, Hinata would finish it, said Kakashi. To say everyone was shocked was the understatement of the decade. Everyone except Asuma couldn't believe it. How? He's barely out of the academy, and graduated as dead last? Asked Kurenai. Yes, but that's not all. When I asked him why he was hiding his skill, he told me because of how squads are formed. The Rookie of the Year, most promising kunoichi of the year, and the dead last made a squad. And when the academy started, he made sure to get the bare minimum score to pass through the years in order to get dead last to ensure he got a good squad. Everyone again was shocked. That's really genius actually, said a random Jonin. It was Asuma's turn to talk. Yeah, the kid's knowledge is nothing to scoff at. Even at 8 years old, he managed to learn how to apply wind chakra to a blade in just 2 days, and in 5 days he improved upon it. He also soaked up every wind jutsu I threw at him. The kid is a literal genius, just like his father. He finished with a chuckle as he put a cigarette in his mouth. Wait, Asuma, you knew? Asked Kakashi. Yeah, he came to me asking if I can show him wind jutsus cause he found out there aren't much in Konoha. I was shocked because he wasn't even in the academy and he knew his affinity and nature transformation. He doesn't know one, but 2 of his nature transformations. Most academy students don't even know their affinity. That's nothing though, I think he's still hiding a great lot. Interesting kid, I must say, said Asuma. Yeah, he's a natural leader. He even got Sasuke to go eat ramen with him. If there's anyone that can get him out of that path of hatred and revenge, I'm sure it's him. Spoke Kakashi, shocking everyone that the cold aloof emo went out to eat with his squad. I also believe that Naruto can bring out the best in him. Sasuke would see him as a rival and it would push him to get better, said Kakashi as everyone nodded, understanding what he was getting at. Alright, if that's it, this meeting ended. Kakashi, stay, I need to talk to you, said the Hokage. Everyone left and eventually Hiruzen started speaking. Kakashi, I need you to keep a close eye on Naruto. Tell me, what level do you think he's at? I think he's low to mid Jonin, being able to formulate a plan on the spot and holding his own against me. And we still haven't seen everything, I could tell he was holding back a great lot, replied Kakashi. Okay, thanks. Kakashi tried to figure out how strong he truly is. Hi Hokage-sama, replied Kakashi. Alright, you're dismissed, said Hiruzen. Hiruzen sighed while he looked up and thought. What monster have you created, Kushina, Minato? He thought with a chuckle. 3 weeks later. In a bright sunny day in Konoha, within the shadows, a pair of piercing blue eyes could be seen in the dark, moving from shadow to shadow. Foxy at point A, Avenger at point B, Stutter at point C, N. Naruto-kun, why did you give me this name? I don't stutter that much anymore. Sorry Hina, it was either that or red face. Alright guys, have a lock on our target at point B, Avenger, engage in 3, 2, 1. Shrieks and crashes can be heard, and out an alleyway Sasuke walked out with scratch marks on his face, grumbling something about cats from hell. I really hate this cat, we've caught it for the 15th time already. I would no cause have been counting, said Sasuke. I never said D ranks would be fun, replied Kakashi. I'd much rather a boring C rank than this bullcrap. With C ranks you still have the possibility of running into bandits, better than catching this cat, grumbled Sasuke. Yeah, but on every C rank we've done we haven't ran into anything, Sasuke, said Naruto before continuing, but I agree, I'd rather a boring uneventful C rank than this. They arrived to the Hokage office and returned the demon cat to its owner. Gigi, I'm tired of D ranks, give us another C rank, said Naruto while groaning. Naruto, stop giving the Hokage such a disrespectful name, scolded Iruka, who was standing beside him. It's okay, Iruka, said the Hokage, waving it off. Kakashi, do you believe they're ready for this mission? Asked Hiruzen. Hi Hokage-sama, they're definitely ready. In the 3 weeks Kakashi taught them the tree climbing and water walking chakra control exercises, but only to find out that Naruto had not only known them but mastered them. After they all learned it, he found out their affinities, and Kakashi was shocked to find out Naruto had all 5. Flashback. Alright, see this that I'm holding, said Kakashi as he gestured towards 3 slips of paper he had on his other hand, which Naruto recognized as chakra paper. Crap, Kurumi, I have a feeling we're going to have to eventually tell Gigi and Kakashi about you and the Rinne Sharingan. Are you sure, Naru-kun? Yeah, Kakashi is about to find out about me having all 5 affinities, and maybe I could help train Sasuke with his Sharingan. Why are you so intent with training Sasuke though? Don't tell me you're just doing this cause of that, she finished with a chuckle. No, of course not, replied Naruto with a chuck of his own. What are the papers for? Asked Sasuke. These are chakra papers. When you pour chakra into them, they'll do one of 5 things. It'll either wrinkle, get soggy, ignite into ash, split in half, or turn into dirt and crumble. If it wrinkles, you have a Raiden lightning release affinity. If it gets soggy, you have a Suiden water release affinity. If it splits into half, you have a Futon wind release affinity. If it ignites and turns into ash, you have a Kaden fire release affinity, and if it turns into dirt and crumbles, you have a Doden earth release affinity. He handed them out. Sasuke, you go first, said Kakashi. His paper wrinkled and ignited and turned ash. Very well. I have lightning affinity too, and I know some fire techniques, and I'm sure your clan vaults have some jutsu too, said Kakashi. Naruto's eyebrow quirked up this, but no one noticed. You next, Hinata. Her paper split in half and got soggy. Very well. Since Naruto has a water affinity, then he could also help you with your training, she blushed, imagining some training. Now your turn, Naruto. His paper formed in X-shaped lines from the corners and split into 4 pieces. One piece ignited and turned into ash. The ash started to dissolve into nothing. The second piece got soggy and continued getting soggy until it eventually dissolved. The third piece turned into dirt and began crumbling into nothingness. The fourth piece wrinkled inwards until it was a tiny ball, then the tiny ball kept on getting smaller until it blinked out of existence. Kakashi and the rest just started gaping and started at where the paper used to be with eyes as wide as saucers before Kakashi spoke up. What the? Flashback end. He shook his head to dispel the flashback when he started to hear the Hokage speak. Well, your team is in luck. A new mission to escort a builder to the wave just arrived. The Hokage signaled for an Anbu to appear and in a blur it appeared. Bring him in, said the Hokage.